The global real estate bubble continues to expand in many areas. Ever wonder why? Is it because more people are moving in and need places to stay? Maybe. But during the subprime crisis, when housing prices fell, is that because people were leaving? Not at all. Let's take a look at the real statistics so that you can know the truth. And that's why you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at the trillion-dollar real estate bubble. I will show you different areas of the world, from Canada and the US to Europe, Hong Kong, and more. Let's begin by looking at Denmark, where you can lock in mortgage rates of 1.5% for 30 years. That's shocking. The Central Bank of Denmark decided to bring interest rates into the negative territory. In doing so, everything interconnected with that went down, and in the case of variable mortgages, can you believe it? Some people were actually getting a small fraction, but they were actually getting paid to take out a mortgage. That's how low mortgage rates dropped. That shows you the value of the currency, first of all, as well as the fact that these central banks are willing to take this bubble to the maximum. Half a decade after rates first went negative in Denmark, the country is continuing to test records in ultra-low borrowing costs. Never before have we seen the experiments that these central banks are engaging in right now. Never before in history. And what will happen here? Only time will tell. So that's Denmark. Let's take a look at Hong Kong. This happens to be just one website, and you can look at it in different ways here, but I just want to show you, let's say approximately 2%. Okay, that's the mortgage rate there. Approximately. And here is the Netherlands. Depending how you want to look at it here, it's around, let's say that around that same zone of 2%. Many areas, in fact, are very low. When you see some areas being, let's say, about twice as much as others, you might think to yourself, they have a high rate on their mortgages, they have a low rate on their mortgages. But no matter where you look, globally, rates are near record low for that particular country. That's what I need to address. So you might see one area that is, let's say, at 4%, but historically 4% would be very, very low. So all of them have been bringing down their rates over the last, let's say, decade or so, and they haven't been able to bring them back up to historically normal levels. And as a result, we have bubbles. That's what I want to talk about next. UBS provides a report every so often, and this is it, UBS Global Real Estate Bubble Index. And I believe this information was from later on in 2017. I brought it to you then, but just wanted to show you it today. This is the latest scores for the housing markets of select cities, and on the top of the list is none other than Toronto. Congratulations, Toronto. This isn't the highest prices, this is the bubble factor. Okay, remember that. They've bet out areas around the world that you've heard about the bubbles, like Hong Kong and London and Sydney and other places. Toronto, being on the top of the list, has actually become extremely unaffordable for the average person. The best indicator of a bubble, all you need to know, one simple indicator, how much the average person makes and how much the average house costs. That's it. That's the most important indicator. And right now, in all of these places on the top of the list, that is way out of whack, completely out of whack. Now, the reason why houses continue to increase is the fact that mortgage rates, the number one reason, mortgage rates are at extremely low levels, coupled with rent rates are the highest they've ever been. So people, they look at it, okay, if rents are, let's just make up numbers, $1,000 a month, but for a mortgage, maybe if I just put in just a little bit more every month, maybe a few hundred more, well, I can get a mortgage instead. I will then own my home. It might take me a long period of time, but isn't it better than, quote unquote, throwing all that money away? And that's what the majority of people have been doing. They actually were going ahead with pushing themselves to the maximum. And this isn't a good strategy. It never is. Some people may think it's okay, but there are periods of time in which individuals will have to get a new mortgage, okay? Whether it's 3 years or 5 years on average for people. So what they will do is they will get in 3 to 5 year period. Let's say right now, they have to wait. Anything that happens in this period of time, if mortgage rates are going higher and higher, they don't need to worry, according to them, because they won't need to finance for, let's say, that 5 year period. But it will be some point in the future in which they have to face the music. Do they think that mortgage rates will be higher? Well, they're trying to implement these new rules to restrict what people are able to borrow if they were necessarily near the edge there, then try to make it unaffordable for them, try to make it impossible for them. But I will tell you something. There are always alternative mortgage lenders. You'll get the mortgage. It's a fact. You're going to get the mortgage no matter where you look. There are different lenders. So you can go to the traditional banks and get your mortgages there. Or you can get mortgage through alternative lenders as low as 5%, even in some cases 1.5% down. That's it, 1.5% down. And a lot of these areas, if you look at Amsterdam specifically, I know they changed the rule recently, but you were able to get 106% of the purchase price. Imagine that. You can actually take out a mortgage of 106%. So then you can cover closing costs, you can cover some minor renovations on your place, and have that entire thing under your mortgage. So surely that's going to push rates higher and higher and higher, the prices higher and higher, because it's so affordable. Why would somebody want to rent when they can get a home completely paid for, closing costs, everything, all in one? And that's what's been happening. So each area of the world has a different situation, but ultimately what I can say is that they are completely overpriced. When you look at the most basic indicators, I've shown you hundreds here on this channel, but when you look at these in particular, we clearly see that. And then you look at mortgage rates, interest rates in general, are extremely low. So surely that's going to push the prices up higher and higher and higher. Okay, so let's look further into this. Housing prices rising in almost all cities. Now, while I've seen the prices of Toronto real estate in some areas come down, and I'm sure it's the same way in other places of the world, you can still see certain pockets that are continuing to outperform the rest. All right. So Toronto again on the top of the list. We see Hong Kong. This is the inflation-adjusted price growth rates annualized in percent. Nearly 10% for a lot of these places. That's incredibly, pushing people to the maximum. There's no way they could afford it. They couldn't afford it last year. They couldn't afford it the year before. How are they affording it now? And again, I'll tell you just one more time, because I know that a lot of people like to deny it. If you're looking at rent, and let's just say, you're never going to find this, but if you could say $1,000. So if your rents are $1,000 per month in a typical, probably a one-bedroom condo in a not-so-nice area, you're going to be paying $1,000 a month. Now, you might say, I could just buy a home, and, what's that going to cost me? Maybe $1,200? Maybe $1,400 even for the same place. Depends on down payments and so on. Of course, people are looking into buying. And when you look at the mortgage rates in all of these different places, doesn't matter. Mortgage rates are near historic lows. So we've seen You know, they like to show the charts. Oh, right, the mortgage rates have been climbing and climbing and climbing here. So they'll show you a chart that shows you this. Okay, mortgage rates have come up so many times over the last 2 years. This is a good rate. Good things to look at. But if you actually zoom out on this, you'll see where mortgage rates are. Yes, they are, let's say, higher when they were a few years ago. But look at where they were just a few years back. That's what people don't understand. Or they simply refuse to look at the valid information and look at just what sort of, cherry picking the results. Take all of the information and piece it together for yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't trust what I'm saying. Look into this for yourself and really try to break it down. Okay? Don't go anywhere. Make sure you click on part 2 of this video. I'm going to get into the US and how sales are falling. Link is in the description. Take care.